Josh Pais is a working actor. You've seen him in hundreds of movies and TV shows, from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original, to The Joker. And he started out with the Stanislavski method, and I also did the same. And he went on a journey studying with acting masters and directors from all over the world. So he wanted to figure out a way to access spontaneity more with his acting abilities. So he started studying with people, and he realized, once he was working with all these incredible universities and acting companies, they started asking him to teach. And he kept saying, I'm not a teacher. And he kept fighting the universe a little bit. And then eventually realized that maybe it was time that he gives it a shot. So over the last couple decades, Committed Impulse, which is the program I've been a part of for 5 years that helps actors and entrepreneurs, has changed people's lives, their careers, has changed my mindset. And it's really all about playing with what's in the moment and knowing the lines, but not over rehearsing, just being where you are, meeting you and yourself where you're at. And I'm so honored to welcome Josh Pais today to talk about his career, to talk about Committed Impulse. And I'm telling you, this is going to be incredible. So let's welcome him right now. This is Quarantine But Cute. Whoop whoop. The internet does its thing. Beep beep ba ba boop.
Hey,
We're in.
what's happening?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Are you in a sauna?
Uh, no, I'm in my kitchen.
I like it. Oh my
Thank you.
God. Well,
I
I'm
wish
so
I
happy.
was in a sauna. That'd be a nice, yeah.
I'm in a blue beep beep bop boo world, the blue screen. Thank you so much for being on. I've literally been studying with you for like 5 years now. And
Wow.
I think that's crazy. First of all, I just want to acknowledge that I am so grateful to have had you and have you currently as a teacher, because it's helped me get out of my head and really focus on what's in front of me and saying I'm back, and not worrying so much about how I look, and just
Yeah. No, it's been a awesome journey for you. You know, I just remember, first coming in and, very, you have so much energy, which is awesome. But you're so landed in it. It was like a hurricane, and now it's like a, a force.
a baby force hurricane. I'm the Tasmanian devil, but I appreciate that, and I receive that. And I think what's so extraordinary about you is the story in and of itself. Like, your father worked in the sort of energy space, right, with Einstein. Like, can we talk a
Yeah,
little
he
bit
was.
about that?
Yeah, he was a theoretical physicist,
Yeah.
who he was a Holocaust survivor. He was hiding out near Anne Frank, survived
Wow.
that, and then he went from He was in Amsterdam. Then he went from Amsterdam to Denmark and worked with Niels Bohr, who is really the guy that came up with the structure of the atom. And then from there, he was invited to the Institute for Advanced Studies in Princeton, New Jersey, by Robert Oppenheimer. And then there he worked with on and off with Einstein for 11 years.
So, as the son to this incredible man, what was it like growing up with him? Because I can imagine the conversations that you all had at the dinner table.
Yeah. I mean, there was, just being around physicists, like they're a very unique breed. They love telling jokes,
Really?
and they are kind of, so many of them were like just so hyper focused on, had so much genius in one area, then like in other areas, just baffled. Like literally, I remember like my dad got a toaster oven and just literally had to explain how it worked, and he had to write down notes, about, okay, do this step, then this, then this step.
Wow.
Just because the brain was so, in one area. And yeah, and we talked, he
That's
would,
amazing.
yeah, yeah. Um, you know, he would ask me, he would give me like part of my allowance. I had to kind of draw out the structure of an atom. Like he would give me little homework assignments and the story that you've heard me tell, just very briefly, I understood, what every other kid's father did, but I didn't really know what my dad did. And when I really confronted him on it, he said there was a table next to me, and he said, "You see this table?" I was like, "Yes." And he said, "The smallest part of that table and the smallest part of your knee or your body is the same thing. It's atoms." And he said, and that's what I explore, the building blocks of the universe. And then he, walked out the door, and I was like, whoa. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then the opposite side, your mom, what did your mom do?
My mom was a bohemian, lived in it. My parents divorced when I was 3. Like radical opposite, like total science and total art, and just hippie, um, artist, painter, poet, just like always gathering like creative people. We had performances in our living room like every other
Aw.
weekend, and people would just gather and, get up and do stuff. So it was, her thing was like, just create, just create, just create.
Mm. That's so you, the best of both worlds. And I was going to save this question for later, but it kind of correlates. I had people send in a couple things, and I picked the best question, if that's okay.
Great.
Um, Someone said, the embodied way that you work as an actor and as a teacher seems like a direct, intuitive, or spiritual connection with the universe. If you're comfortable, would you be willing to discuss how your connection to your intuition or spirituality, or however you define it for yourself, guides you in your career?
Wow.
Boom. It's a good one, right?
That's really good. So that what's the essence of the question is, how does my intuition,
Guide your career and your choices, really, it sounds like.
I mean, I consider my intuition, just in terms of as an actor and in terms of as when I'm teaching, is just really I just observe, and it's just really understanding and seeing human nature and
Mm,
seeing how people in their bodies, how they will hold themselves back, and just know, I've gotten very quick at giving them just a little something, a little exercise, um, a little shift, a little tapping into something that
mm,
just undoes that and then frees them up to do and gets them out of here. And
right.
so, um, my journey as an actor has been to, in the moment that I'm creating, to find the way to get out of my head by increasing my connection to my body and my immediate environment. And that opens up the creative channel or intuition, so that um, something more creative, more spontaneous is happening than something that I could think of. And so it's just trusting like the
Mm,
genius of the body, that our creativity is in here, and that I just do whatever I can to stay in my body so that it's unknown from my mind's
right.
point of view, but it's fully known from my body's point of view. And that's really what I do in terms of my acting and when I'm teaching, just to get people very quickly out of listening to the chatter up here, which is
Mm,
always like it just
right.
screws us up. Yeah, it's just, and for everybody, every human that I've met, talked about, everybody has like really crappy thoughts. And many people think theirs are worse than others, but it's just
Mm,
not true. And it's so like, instead of trying to process the thoughts, it's like shift into the body. Maybe this is where, you could call this intuition,
mm,
but there's something really rich when you're listening to these charges and these electrical impulses and these creative impulses in the body.
Wow, there's so much to unpack there. I mean, I know because I've been training with you, but for people watching, um, it's so hard to put into words because, you know, getting out of your own head when people are watching you is super difficult to just let people see you
Yeah.
and be intimate with an audience, whether theater, TV, film, whatever the medium, speaking to thousands of people, you know, which your partner knows a lot about, right? Because
Hmm.
that's what she does.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I
how,
mean, just along those
yeah,
lines, sorry to interrupt, but
no, go ahead.
just I think one of the hardest lessons to learn is that the audience wants an experience of you.
Hmm.
Like they don't want your idea of what you're going to present. They want to see, they want to connect to you, especially in this time that we're living in. And
Yeah.
so that's really for any artist or any presenter, um, really for all of us, that's, it's very challenging because if you allow yourself to be unchecked, you're stepping into the unknown from
Hmm.
your mind's point of view. And that's scary until you practice it. And then it just like a whole other world opens up.
Right. So when we're talking about preparedness, right, then the spontaneity can happen. So an actor prepares, right? Super famous book. But
Mhm.
I mean, for you, what is your preparation? Because obviously you have a yoga background, you have a deep spiritual practice that helps you get into your body. But when you are approaching someone that's never done this sort of technique or training before, what is the quickest way for you to help people understand how to get out of their heads and into their body? Like what could we do as an exercise right now for people watching, like sitting, so we can sort of give them a little taste of committed impulse, because it truly is revolutionary and helps people be in the present moment, not worried about anything else that's happening, your phone, your bills, your car payment, your
Mhm.
boyfriend. It really helps you just go, hey, I'm with you. And even though I have these lines to say, I'm still coming across as a real human being and I'm not an actor acting.
Right. Really, the simplest way is the four access points.
Mm.
And that is, should we just talk
Yeah.
people through it real quick?
Yeah.
So there's no specific order to them, but um, why don't we start with just seeing? So the first one we'll say is taking in your immediate environment.
Okay.
So I would suggest just everybody, whether you're in your home or wherever you happen to be, just to experiment seeing in terms of color, shape, texture, lightness, darkness, almost how a baby would see, like to
Mm-hmm.
literally see what's there as opposed to going like, I'm looking at a cabinet and those are knobs and thinking, oh, I remember when I got those knobs. Like, no, like just look at the color, the shape, seeing what's actually there, like a dog or baby would see it.
But don't go into a story.
Don't
Just,
go into a story, like literally see the
yeah.
shape, the color, have awareness of where there's space so that you're literally connecting to what's there. So that's one. Another one is just to see what is in your body. Like right
Mm-hmm.
now, I can feel like in my solar plexus, it's like a little, there's a little dance happening up
Mm-hmm.
here. It's like a little bit tight, I can feel a little fear right here.
Mm-hmm.
uh, a little like calmness, like on the sides, just to tap into what's actually happening in here. Because we want to train to stay connected to other stuff than the chatter. So we're shifting what we're listening to. So just take a look at what emotion you feel in your body, what feels expansive, what feels
Mm-hmm.
contracted. Notice how connected you are to the ground. Notice the quality of your breath. And that's the next one, is just your breath. Like just breathe to feel, like breathe to feel. So each breath is connecting to your body. Now, you may feel something that, I don't like that, but it's
Mm.
part of this is just increasing your tolerance for all of you so that no matter what you're feeling,
Yeah.
it's not going to stop you. And chances are,
Mhm.
when you put your ass on the line, when you're performing, when you're presenting, if you're on a date or whatever it may be, you're going to feel stuff. And if
Mm.
you can increase your tolerance for it, like then you can stay present. Most of the time, we're constantly trying to manipulate what we're feeling.
And push it
So,
away.
and push it away. So breathe to feel. And then the final one is I'm back. And as you know, in class, like anytime you're aware that you've just, checked out, you've gone shopping, you've gone thought about something that you're going to do later, worrying about something or, whatever. It's like as soon as you're aware that you've left the immediate environment, left your body, just say out loud, I'm back. And then just return to your breath, your immediate environment, and your body. And just practicing those 4 access points will train you to stay present, and it
Mhm.
will train your nervous system. It teaches your nervous system that you can step into the unknown without dying. Because
Yeah.
literally, our ancestors, you know, went out into the unknown and saw others die, and they were like, okay, I'm gonna stay in the cave.
I don't want that.
I don't want that. I'm not leaving. I'm gonna keep everything secure.
Mm.
And that was the right survival strategy because we're here now.
Right.
We're a lineage of survivors, but we just have to recognize that in this era that we're in, we need to open up.
Mm.
We need to step into the unknown because otherwise we operate out of our head, and that leads to war, and it leads to really all the problems in the world. And if we can just literally see each other
Mm.
and breathe and feel like, well, yeah, this is intense, and the goal isn't to be relaxed. The
Right.
goal is to like be alive.
Yeah. And then take that and translate that to whatever you're doing without trying to push it out.
Yeah, and then to act from there, to live from there, to party from there.
I love that you said that. I love when you say party with it because it just makes it more fun. It's like I think what I admire about how you teach is it's never a reprimand, it's never belittlement, it's never you did this the wrong way, let me show you this is the way to do it. It's so open for us to figure it out on our own and grow at our own pace and start accepting ourselves as human beings and knowing that each one of us are such an individual light. And I won't say the person's name, but last night when I was watching a certain person act with me, right, act with me, but really be with me, when you had given them the direction to talk about what they did in their personal life
Right.
to help them just get more into the juiciness of just being,
Yep.
they lit up because it's something they know, it's something they can talk about. So what would you say as a tip if you're just feeling stuck? Because I could sit and talk about food all the time, right? That lights me up. That lights me up. You can see it immediately in a change, right? And so if you feel stuck and you're not quite there, how do you recommend someone not adjusting, but sort of meeting where they're at and able to express
Right.
in a more
Well,
truthful, honest way?
great question. So, um, I just to answer that, I just want to just go back to one thing, which is that we have to recognize that we have been raised in a culture that it's ingrained from the beginning. It's not even questioned that
Mm.
there's good body sensations and then there's bad body sensations.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about like physically getting hurt. I'm talking just whatever gets generated in our body.
Anxiety or
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
And that, what if that's not true? And if you break it down, in my experimenting, like with what my father told me, like, when I actually started to feel anxiety, it's if I actually feel it, it was just energy moving in my chest, maybe
Mm,
fast, maybe it was like a lot. But if we stop holding things as bad, then we're never, then we just create with whatever's there. So
yeah.
if we feel stuck, like stuck is as good as unstuck. Like your job is to create from exactly where you are. And you know, you've seen this in class. If somebody's like stuck and they're trying to shake it off and trying to
Yeah.
get rid of it, it's like, no, it's like that's just
Yeah.
going to disconnect you from your body and you're going to be, then you'll connect to your head. But if you fully connect to the stuck, and it's like such a human experience, you fully connect to like, what is it? Like, you know, maybe I'm having, it's hard to breathe. You just
Yeah.
like fully connect to that. It's like it opens the door of the moment. So we've got to stop manipulating ourselves to an idea of an ideal state to be in. That's what screws everybody up.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say this. I
What are you going to
fully,
say?
I'm going to say this. I am just so happy you're here, first of all. I
I'm
don't
happy to
script.
be here too.
Yeah, it's really cool. I don't script anything. And I really, that's the spontaneity of what I've been creating,
Hmm.
is just going with the flow and being a good listener and going, okay, well, what's going to serve the audience and also the guest and myself? How can we make this a community? Right. But I remember my first co-star ever, and I attribute it to committed impulse. And here's why. I walked in the room. I was super nervous. I grabbed a cup of water because my mouth was so dry and I knew I was going any second, because the list was short when I signed in. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Can't run out of the door now. And I filled up the cup of water and I took a sip and there was a little bit left. And I remember being like, this is water in a cup. And I looked around and I looked at the shape of the cup and I looked how there was like a teaspoon of water left. And I was like, I'm back,
Hmm.
because my mind was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to
Right.
present? How am I going to do this? And I will never forget, I walked into the audition and the door had been propped open outside of the audition door, like the main door where everyone comes in. And people kept slamming the door shut. And the casting director was getting so frustrated, not at me, but she was trying to film me, right?
Right.
And no one was reading the sign that said, please don't shut the door. And so it happened like 5 or 6 times. And I just finally was like, I'm so sorry this is happening. I can see how that's frustrating, because I really could see she wanted to scream. And I honestly think it was less my acting that day and it was more just connecting with a human being
Hmm.
and being like, I see you. I see that you're frustrated and I want to be with you in this moment. How can I help you? And it wasn't even like a tactic. It was just like, this is what's happening. I can't pretend
Right.
it's not happening.
Right. Right.
And I've got to connect with that. So it put me on a more human level with her as opposed to actor, casting director.
Yep.
Casting directors have feelings too. They're people too. You never know what's going on. And we
Yeah.
always think they hate us or they don't want the best for us. And it's the exact opposite.
Yeah. They want you to win because then
Yeah.
they can go, you know, have a cocktail.
They want you to win. And I truly attribute that to just taking that step before I walked into the door
Yeah.
to be present with what's around me. And that's when I was like, I don't think I can ever do any other method again, because it's not that it's forced. I mean, the method is incredible. I went to Lee Strasberg
Hmm.
and I think, Uta Hagen, all these incredible people that have changed people's lives,
Yeah.
Meisner, all of them are great.
Hmm.
But for me, who's someone who is in my head a lot and worries, am I doing this the way they want me to do it? When I come from a place of complete unknown and I learn how to memorize the lines, which I want to talk to you about that in a second.
Yeah.
I really can be whatever is known as free, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm finally getting there. And it took me a long time because we fight ourselves
Yeah.
and we wait for validation. and we want to be pat on the head, you're good, you know, keep going, but we have to do it within ourselves. So this work goes hand in hand with whatever therapy, whatever spiritual work that you're doing. Committed impulse, I feel like, meets, you know, that work and helps make you grow exponentially. So I want to commend you for that first. And if
Thank you.
no one knows what committed impulse is, you can DM me or DM committed impulse on Instagram. But it's really important while we're here on this earth to tap into the truth of who we are and what we feel like we're meant to do. And it's a very scary thing to say, I want to be an actor.
Yeah.
And I wonder, did you ever struggle with that coming up in the business, or did you always just know? Because you seem so all the time just even keel in the best, most inviting, not too much, not too little kind of way. I can't really explain you. You're very interesting and spontaneous, and you have the patience to teach while also having a full-time acting career. That's a lot of energy expenditure. So
Yeah.
I guess I've asked a couple questions in that question, but when did you know this is what you wanted to do, and what really, how did the process start?
Well, it really started, you know, in my mother's, living with my mom,
Yeah.
very bohemian, and there would be performances, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
And I would just be a part of that. And I was an integral part of those performances, and never thinking, oh, I want to be an actor, but it was just something that it was just very natural. And then I was also very interested in animal behavior. And my dad was very excited that I might be, going in the scientific route. And he like hooked me up with like top, animal behaviorists, at Rockefeller University and all over. And I would just go and assist and, assist them in little, in these experiments that they were doing.
Josh, that's so cool. I just have to stop you there. No one I know has that story. What do you mean? You just observe animals?
Yeah, it would do all kinds of, like there was one thing that was, they were observing like navigation in birds. And they had these kind of tubes, and they would have, the birds fly in the tube with some wind coming, and they could just study things. And then they would also just track birds, and they would sometimes, shine a light on them, so that it would be hard for them to see at night, but it never altered their navigation. And so they started just discovering elements about, navigation in birds, like how do they know which direction to go in, and so, and all of that is so fast, just fascinating to me still. But the thought of being in a lab, I was like, no, that's not my jam. And I just felt like that acting could be a real contribution, that if people, seeing, being a part of something, and, entertainment is so valuable, and storytelling is just so valuable. And I just felt like, that's something, it's a way of making the world a better place. And especially in this, in this era, in this, in our little plague, it's like people need entertainment, and it's like, it's settling, settling, and it's like just to re-engage and we all have a deep need for story, and, just to be a part of that is, I just love it. I love being an actor. I love acting. I love everything about it. I love teaching acting, and yeah, so it's just been, my dad at one point was like, that's the stupidest thing I have ever heard. And
I mean, it makes sense for what he does.
Yeah.
I mean, he's taking notes about toasters, Josh.
Right.
That's so amazing.
Yeah. but eventually he came on board, and he helped pay for my education,
Wow.
to go to
Good.
college. And so, yeah, and that started my journey. And
Wow.
then after college, I went on I just wanted to discover what is spontaneity, because when it would
Mhm.
kind of accidentally happen in my work, I was like, that's what I want.
Yeah.
But I didn't know, like, and so I went on a really 2-year journey, just training with people from all over the world in, different physical forms, and just getting out of our head.
Hmm.
And that was, ended up being the genesis of Committed Impulse.
Wow. I love what you said too about the birds, how even though the light was shown on them, right? It didn't deter where they were going.
Yeah,
And I think that's such a metaphor for life. When you want to, accomplish something, there's going to be a million things that come at you.
yeah,
And we can easily accept those things and go, oh yeah, maybe I do need to stop. Maybe this isn't what I'm supposed to do. It's almost an excuse to accept the fear, you know?
hmm,
And I think surrounding yourself in a community of people is so important to keep going.
yeah,
And it's something I've been able, thankfully and blessed to be able to do, to be a part of the Committed Impulse team, because we keep, as a student, we keep each other accountable even outside of class.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
implore anyone, no matter what you do, whether you start to do Committed Impulse or whatever you're doing in your career, to make sure that the people surrounding you are lifting you up as well.
yeah,
Because I think for many years, I personally didn't go for my own thing because I was working for others in the business. And until I had my mentor say to me, you don't need to be an assistant, you need to be acting and going for it.
right.
Like, I had realized I had pushed it down.
Hmm.
And I was like, I don't know if I'm good enough to do it. So I'm not going to try. And people
Right,
know me and they think that's a crazy statement. But even the most outgoing people that work in entertainment, that are behind the camera, can't always be like, no, wait, I want that too.
right,
It's
right.
almost like embarrassing. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So taking that shift, um, changed my entire life when I had certain people like Mel Robbins look at me and say, you're a liar and you need to stop hiding yourself.
Mm,
She said that to me point blank. Like, I was like, well, okay.
right.
And I had a total like meltdown in 2017, and then briefly, and then met you quickly after. And it was sort of this like I opened up finally and
Hmm.
admitted who I was.
Mm,
I'm a performer. That's what I do. I'm a gatherer and a connector and a performer, and I want to create. And just, I don't think I would have ever said that 5 years ago.
right, right.
It's so important while we're here to acknowledge if that is in you, if anyone is watching this,
Yes.
please acknowledge it, because you get
Yeah,
one chance in life to go and do those things.
yeah,
And community is everything, right, Josh?
yeah. And in terms of, like, there's people in class that have stifled, throughout their entire life,
Mm,
for example, like a desire to really be an actor, and
mm,
gone, in all kinds of different paths to avoid, this urge, which doesn't go away,
yes.
and then as they start to, but that's also their journey, and, they're learning
Right.
and gathering along the way. But yeah, I mean, the sooner, if you got to trust those impulses, you got to follow that, because yeah, like, we're here for a minute, and it's not an accident that we're here, and might as well, like, ride it, ride what you want to do, like.
I'm so emotional right now because I can't thank my guides in this world enough.
Mm,
There's so many guides if you just look and you just allow.
yeah.
You're a guide and a mentor for me. My former bosses, people in class are.
Hmm.
Um, there are angels and guides helping us on our journey, and if you just open up to that, you can literally be unstoppable. But we
Yes.
believe that we can't because of society or sorry
Well,
to
we
interrupt.
believe that we can't because we have a mind that wants to constantly protect us from anything and everything.
Yeah.
And if we can almost look at all those thoughts, like you're not good enough, you're not ready, all that is almost to protect you from the potential of something that part of our mind can't understand. It's like an ancient, grandmother, or grandfather that's like, don't go anywhere,
Yeah.
just stay in the house. Don't
Stay
go.
here, Boopala.
You're going to get hurt if you go outside, and it's basically, and if we can just recognize that and not try to, process our thoughts and like try to undo our thoughts, just assume the crappy thoughts that are in there are always going to be there. And that when they occur, that's a reminder that you've left your body, you've disconnected from your immediate environment, and you've decreased your breath.
Yeah.
And like let those thoughts be a reminder to reconnect, as opposed to trying to process and have an ongoing dialogue about why I'm not good enough.
A drama.
And
Don't go
try to
into
be
the
like,
drama.
no, I am good enough. No, but that time you weren't good enough. It's like literally like, it's almost like if you're wearing a motorcycle helmet with speakers, it's like, pick that up and put it over there. And it was like,
Totally.
I'm fucking back.
Yes. Yes. I feel like, are people raising their hand? If you all have a question for Josh, what's super exciting is we can do a 3-way, 4-way call now. So if anyone's wants to do a video request and come in and ask Josh a question while we're talking, we're going to talk for a little bit longer. Feel free. And there's been a lot of people who joined. Feel free to get in the video request or put a comment below. Okay. Now, I feel like from the outside looking at you and working with you, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, Josh never gets nervous. But I know that's not true.
That's not true at all.
It's not true.
I got nervous before doing this Instagram Live.
Is that weird? I think that's flattering. What's wrong with me?
No, but it's just nervousness. But I get as nervous as anybody else, but it's not just by doing this work and integrating it. It's like, it doesn't stop me. It's like, it's just a charge, and it's like, what I've, practiced really my whole life and what I teach is like, that nervous charge of energy, like ride it, get on that pony, it's like, it's energy, you know what I mean? It's not something to be like, I've got to get to some ideal, I've got to get in the zone. Like there is no zone that's worth being. Just like, you got to be right in the charge that you are, and then everything opens up. But if we're constantly processing, trying to get relaxed, for example, if you spend all your time trying to be relaxed, you will end up in your head. Because when you're trying to get relaxed, it's because there's a charge in your body that you're trying to disconnect from. As soon as you disconnect from your body, you're listening to how you suck.
But isn't that the method in a way? We do our relaxation exercises, or used to, right? We would relax and do our chair exercises. And then, I mean, I would be in the shower, right? And just feeling the shower, but literally, obviously I'm not in the shower. I'm just in my body. And then I would get there eventually emotionally, but it seems like such a tougher way and a longer way to get there when you can just sit and go, okay, my hands are tingling and sweaty, but instead of trying to wipe them off, I'm going to go from what that is like. And even in this conversation, my body, like the way my energy it's shifted so much, probably hundreds of times. And I think if we remember something that you've told us, which is like a sensation in the body only lasts, 12 seconds?
Yeah, if you fully experience it, it'll shift in 7 to 12 seconds.
Yeah. So you can do anything for 7 to 12 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think
I think, in terms of those kind of relaxation exercises, like it's fine to do relaxation exercises as part of your training, but in the moment that you're creating, you have to surrender to whatever that truth is, whether it's relaxed
Mm,
or you know, or a lot of energy in there. But if you're trying in the moment of creation, in the moment the director says action, if you're trying to relax, it's like you know, it's like that's not, nobody's interested in watching that. They want to
yeah,
watch the human fire, the human charges, the even the insecurities and the bravery and the power and the fear and the passion and the, you know, like if you can get
yeah,
to see that in a truthfully in a human being, it's like oh, it's so it's
yummy.
so yummy and it's so life affirming. Even if somebody's feeling insecure and they're like, yeah, I'm fucking insecure. Like,
Mm,
yeah, I'm really insecure.
yeah.
I feel really insecure right now. I can just be like, yeah, it's awesome. You
It's
know?
so good. I love when you do the stream of consciousness because that's exactly what you're talking about. Like for anybody that doesn't know, we've obviously did classes in person before COVID with Josh's course and Josh's teachings, Committed Impulse. But someone said, "So yummy, love this. We love you too." And then now, of course, we're all on Zoom. And at first, before I signed up, I was like, I don't know how this online thing is going to go. And there's a part of it that it's almost like you see people more.
Yeah, I had no idea how it was going to go either. And,
It's cool.
but it's been amazing because, yeah, because you see everybody's in a close up.
Yeah. You can't
And
look away at your phone in the classroom or your sweater, like you're fully engaged.
yeah,
The Brady Bunch photos, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's wild. I mean, I'm sure you miss being in class physically, and that will happen again, of course, right?
Yeah, yeah, but I'm so surprised how much I love teaching on Zoom.
Yeah.
Like it's just and it's great also, you know, it's like we do a lot of physical training, we do like physical warm-ups and you know, a lot of the work is very physically based and some of it's pretty challenging just to get pull you into the body. Um, and we're able to do all this physical work and partner work, like going to breakout rooms. Like it's been amazing how connected it's been, and how
Yeah.
I mean people have been so thriving from class on Zoom far beyond what I thought it would be.
It's very intimate.
It
And so
is.
when we do stream of consciousness, for anybody that doesn't know, you're just standing up and you're literally just saying where you're at. And we start by saying stuff like, okay, I feel my hands, like right now, my hands feel really heavy. Um, I want you to know that my hands are still, but they feel like they're vibrating. Um, I want you to know that I feel very connected to you, Josh, and to the audience right now.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to know that um, I feel lights in my speech because I feel joy coming into what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And so that's kind
Awesome.
of a little bit, right,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
what we
Just
talk about.
it's just, you know, in the that part of the training, it's just speaking like, you know, what's the body sensation, and then in the beginning stages of the work, it's then shifting into text
Yep.
without, but continuing to speak from your body, continuing to speak from exactly where you are. And
Yes.
then I don't know if we want to get into, you know, the inner atomics, but there's a whole set of tools that are that break down all of human behavior. I see Justin. Um,
Yeah, there's a question for you really quick. It says
okay,
recently did a class, and I think we should get into interatomics.
okay,
Recently did a class learning more about Grot- Grotowski's
Grotowski.
cat. Can Josh tell us why he chose that for part of his warm up and how it fits with CI?
So this there's Polish director named Jerzy Grotowski, um, and I ended up training with many people that were like direct descendants of his teaching. Um, So I went to, you know, very Stanislavski based actor training. And one semester had this teacher that had just come back from Poland that was working with this guy, Jerzy Grotowski or Grotowski. And she led us into these physical exercises that just pulled me out of my head. And for
Mm,
really, for the first time, it was like a game changer for me. And I
nice.
noticed that later in the day, like when I was in my scene study class, you know, prior to that, I was always like, you know, this is that, and that person is this. And then
Mhm.
I'm thinking about when my poodle, you know, got stolen, and, you know, and somebody slammed the door on me when I was 5. And what does that feel like? And I'm saying the lines, and, you know, and it was just like I was working doing all this stuff. And after doing some of that physical training earlier in the day, I just went into the scene and it just happened. And
I love
I did everything that I had wanted to in a completely new way. And that was really an eye opener to get the power of profoundly being connected to your body. And
wow.
another part of, you know, the Grotowski work is to push beyond where you think you can go. And so some of it's very, you know,
Yeah.
physically challenged, but it's not dangerous or anything, but it's like pushing beyond where your mind says you can go. And that opens another door, because you're not limited by, oh no, you can't do that. You can't do that. And it's like, shh. And then something opens up and this gets really quiet.
I was just, when you were talking about that, I was thinking about, I used to run. I can't run anymore because of my neuropathy in my right foot. But I remember before I started running being like, I have so much energy, but I just don't think I can do it. It was almost like this weird laziness that was like, if I do it and I achieve it, then what next? Almost like fear of success, right? Because we all don't always relish in that journey. We were talking about that last night too. Like, we just think about what's the reward going to be. And it's like, that is the saddest, most soul depleting way to live, because then you're not really living life. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you want to be an actor because you want to win an award, or you want to be a speaker because you want to get a Pulitzer Prize or something, that's really not what we're doing here. This is not about achieving an award through the work that we're doing with Committed Impulse. It's about connecting to humanity and being the best people we can be, while also serving an audience through an experience.
Mm-hmm.
And when
Well
you know
said.
that, what?
Well said.
Yeah, right. Thanks. I feel it though. I just wanted to share that because I think sometimes we don't realize why we're motivated to do things.
Mm-hmm.
It's a subconscious choice, because if I wanted to win an award, I'm sure that I could, because I think I'm good, right? Whatever that award is, I'm good enough. But why am I doing it? You know, it always comes back to the why. And like you already explained and said beautifully, was, you know, we have stories to tell, and I'm a vehicle in which I can do that. And it also gives me great joy. And I feel like that is many people's stories as why they choose to do what they choose to do. But that fear that protects us from not getting killed, like you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
is what holds so many of us back from our destinies. And
Yeah.
this course is good for anyone, not just actors. And it's helped me in other ways in my businesses and my ventures and my collaborations. And I think it's so important to not rush, and to, I mean, it's taken me 5 years to be able to get where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been frustrated, and I've definitely been that person that's like, oh, I just want to show them that I'm good. You know,
Of course.
that's always going to be there, right?
Yeah. But you know, it's just about, you know that, and that's just chatter. That's just mental chatter. And it's just when you hear that, it's just an opportunity to be like, okay, get back in my body, get back to connecting to what's tangible, what's real. And then that will open the creative channel. And and work will happen. And there's nothing wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with awards. But I
I don't think there's
agree.
anything wrong with awards. I think it's just the motivation if that's all you want. Like we want to find the richness in the journey, right?
Well, that will lead to awards too.
Exactly.
But
And
yeah,
I'll and
it's
I
like
want you
it's
to
got to
help.
be, we've got to create in as fully as we can within each moment that we have, whether it's just how we live or how we create.
I want
And
to ask.
I just one other
Yeah, go
thing
ahead.
just about the Grotowski work and about,
Oh
the
yes,
physical
yes.
training, which is that so much of like exercise, physical exercise, like what people
Mm,
do in a gym, for example, not that there's anything wrong with a gym, but it's, there's screens on, there's
mhm.
distraction, and people are like exercising while they're like, watching this or putting this on and, whatever it may be. And just have to realize that that's hardwiring your entire being, your
Mm,
nervous system to be disconnected from your body. And
yeah.
so, one thing with the Grotowski work, and I would really, if anybody wants to experiment with this, is like when you're doing any kind of physical exercise, whether it's running or any exercise, to make it an opportunity to connect to your body, because that will quiet your mind, and
Mm,
it will rewire you to be much more present than if you go and you train and you're trying to be not feel it and get it over with. Then it's like you're setting up that system as a way of life and as a way, and it's really hard to break that in the moment that you want to create.
yeah. Every time I try to weight lift or something, I'll do it for a couple days and then I just completely quit. For me, when I'm connected to my body, it's yoga, meditation, or Pilates. There's something about it. I think maybe it's because there's a spiritual aspect to it, especially with yoga, obviously, more maybe than Pilates. But I mean, you obviously have to find what works for you.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's a lot of distractions, I think is kind of what you're saying.
yeah,
And it's hard to focus. And I think that's something I struggle with, and I'm sure many people watching do, is that our creators struggle with, is we do because we like to create. So we're expending energy, expending energy. But then sometimes we want this one thing. So part of me looks at that positively. Part of me looks at that negatively, meaning if I know I've got to go do a scene, okay, I get panicky when my agent sends me a scene, right? Because I've got to, well, I do, but
yeah.
I got to set up and I want it to be good. And sometimes I just have to go do another hobby
Hmm.
so I can relax, like chopping, cooking,
Hmm.
before I can come back. And I
Hmm.
don't know, like, do you ever experience that where you just need to go, not accomplish something else, but just step away before you step in? I mean, I'm sure
Yeah,
it's
I
your
mean,
warm up too.
yeah, certainly. I mean, there's times, literally taking a 5-minute walk can like be enough of a reset,
Yeah.
especially if you're under a time pressure that you have to, send out a self tape or whatever it may be. But, yeah, but again, it's also 90% of the time that charge that's there of like even the charge of whatever that charge that's in your body that where the thought is like, I gotta, this is good. It's like the game is to like, instead of trying to change everything, like see how that makes sense in the scene that you're about to
Mhm.
do. Because, and
Okay.
more often than not, I would say practically 90%, if you work from exactly where you are, it's going to be amazing. And that doesn't make sense, but it's true.
No, it's so true. I want to thank you for that. I'm so happy you're here. And for everybody watching, if you don't already know Josh, Committed Impulse is his course that he teaches with a ton of different classes on Zoom. And it's changed my life and many people that I know, and I highly recommend it. I would love to get into inner atomics just for a few minutes because I know we have to go soon.
Yeah.
The inner atomics took me a while to understand. But when I was plugging them in before speaking, I can't tell you how much it's changed my mindset to have a tool
Hmm.
to where if I don't even know what's happening and maybe I'm being spontaneous, right? I can plug in redwood or flowing and I can it's this incredible guide to
Hmm.
help you with what you're already feeling in the body. So let's dive
So
into that.
yeah, so basically, inner atomics are they're a set of tools that encompass the full range of human behavior, and we have to realize that how people perceive the world, and this is in terms of creating character, but how humans perceive the world is so often the result of how they live in their body.
Hmm.
And these tools literally alter the energetic charge in your body, almost in a sense, alter the chemistry in your body. And by plugging these tools in and practicing with them, they shift the way that you see. And we need to experiment shifting how we see as opposed to kind of having attention on how we look, because
Yeah.
as long as you can live from here out, you're going to be in the moment. And you know, a couple of the inner atomics are just, you know, what is different people have a different relationship to the ground, and this
Yeah.
is may sound a little, but it's literal. Like typically people that live closer to nature, people that work with their bodies, they tend to be rooted into the earth just as they walk. And then people, you know, I'm in New York City right now, and people in Midtown Manhattan, for example, especially when it was busier, but
Yeah.
would, you know, they're walking along and certainly their feet are touching the ground, but
But it,
energetically
yeah,
they're way up above the ground.
so true.
And you know, we don't want to judge one is better than the other if we want to use them as tools, because sometimes, and so literally, you know, we do exercises, you know, of just standing there and rooting down, and that will change your breath. It will change the
Mm.
way that you see. It will change your relationship to the world. And then also, same like disconnecting from the earth, pulling your energy up, like just as I'm doing right now. Like it creates like more
Mm.
speed in my body, a little bit of like a panic type feeling,
Yeah.
you know, and that can be an amazing tool as well, you know. And you know, in terms of just with that tool, in terms of the arc of a performance, you know,
Mm.
maybe the character in the beginning is like high grounding and not, you know, and they're a bit scattered. And as the journey happens, they,
Smooth
by
out.
shifting your grounding, it's like it starts to tell a story in an amazing way.
Yeah, you become three-dimensional,
Yeah,
four-dimensional, right?
yeah,
So it's not just memorizing the lines and saying them, although that can be quite extraordinary when someone gives a complete monotone delivery, depending on the character. Um, but it gives it such a beautiful dynamic, and it gives people a place to go
uh-huh, yeah,
in the spontaneity of
yeah. It
coming through the body.
they they will pull you, you know, they will pull you into a realm in a sense.
Yeah.
And you know, that's just, you know, grounding is just one, but there's about 20 different ones. You know, some of them have to do with changing how energy is moving in your body, and that will you know, make you know, shift how you operate, and it will generate behavior. And the idea is to use these choices so that your work is effortless, so that you're not working from here like, how do I say that line, instead of
Yeah.
being plugging this charge into your body based, so you have an intellectual idea of the character. Okay, this inner atomic would work for that, plug it in, and then you're just, and then it just takes over.
It's incredible. It's so true. And I have to say, not until I did this last career coaching hot seat, um, I'm I'm now excited to do self tapes,
That's awesome.
which is huge for me. Um, because they terrify me because I always feel like it's almost being like I'm a really good phone person. So people tell me I give good phone. right? So like I know that I can I can commute through audio. I can communicate well through audio. So voice
Mhm.
acting is something I've just gotten into again and built a
Right.
booth and really excited. Um, but the video aspect has been so hard for me to get my head around. So now I'm feeling all this really just listening more. I'm able to quiet all the questions and all the things that are happening in my mind because I've been able to soak up and watch other people work in class as well. And it's teaching me so much. Like, that's another
Hmm.
thing. Like, I know we all want to do our own thing in our careers, but community is everything. And I am learning so much from actors that are better than me. And that's okay. I'm okay to say that. I think you should be in a room with people who are better or more prepared than you because it helps you grow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you
And
have
you
many.
and now you're teaching a lot of people by your presence as well in class.
Thank you. And I just, God, I could talk to you for like 3 hours because there's just so many incredible things that have come out of Committed Impulse. But I am
I
truly
can I can I can
excited.
do one more question if you
Yeah.
have it, or we can wrap up just because I got to go get
No,
my power vaccine.
I know, totally. I know. I'm getting my vaccine on Tuesday. I'm really excited.
I'm getting
Um,
mine in 30 minutes. Yeah.
oh my God. Okay. So last question is, what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given, whether it's about life or career? Something that's stuck with you, that's helped you be a part of who you are.
What comes to mind is to not forget to breathe.
Okay.
Like just to consciously breathe. Of course, we're breathing to, sustain, minimal body function, but just taking in, like consciously taking in some breaths, not to relax, not to anything, but it pulls you back into your body, pulls you back into the moment, and opens the creative channel. So that's such a great question, but that's the first thing that popped into my head.
But it's great. Someone just said, I do that so hard. Thank you so much, Josh.
My pleasure.
You're my
You're
friend.
awesome, and committedImpulse.com is the website if you want, and yeah, thanks, Lauren.
Thank you so much for being on Quarantine But Cute. Josh Pais, everybody. See you all next week.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.